What up, guys? I'm Pope, and this is my bro JT, and welcome to Crooked Paths. I would say probably our best attempt at putting together anything that could ever resemble a podcast.
For sure. We want to thank you guys for being a part of this journey with us. We hope that this space can provide you with a little bit of encouragement, and if you're able to connect the dots between our scattered thoughts, perhaps even find a little bit of inspiration.
Yeah, for sure. We want to thank Kyle Brown and KEB Corporation for all their support in this and providing us the opportunity and the platform. They're on all social media outlets. Like, follow, subscribe, share, whatever you need to do. Keep you informed with KEB Corporation and everything they have going on.
That's right. We're going to talk a lot about our life, what we're learning about our lives, and how we're trying to operate as human beings moving forward. One thing that's for sure is it's never going to be a straight line.
No, sir. It's always crooked.
It's always crooked. And we're here. Final episode.
Yeah, crazy.
Season 1.
Not really crazy, but...
Nah, man. But it's been a process to get here.
Definitely.
We were talking about it before, 5-6 month process, something like that, it feels like.
Yeah.
To get to this point, to film the final episode of the first season. And I feel like we've learned a lot about just setting up random stuff, and what works, what didn't work.
But either way, I think it's just been fun to get thoughts out there. And I think today will be especially fun because it's talking about something that we just find so, not that everything that we talk about we don't find so important, but just like the whole idea, especially when it comes to ownership, is the patience and consistency that comes. It's like the key to life, right? Is the patience and the consistency.
Yeah, both, and they go hand in hand.
They do. It's almost like they both make parts of a key, and when you click them together, it's like it is the key.
That was a really cool visual. I literally saw two pieces of a key being connected, but they are being patient and understanding that anything that you're trying to work for in this life is gonna take time. It just takes time. I mean, you have a tattoo, literally reminding you that it just takes time, because that's how important we both see that in our lives. So we just got to remind that it's like a constant encouragement to stay patient, to stay diligent, because we know where we're heading.
Well, think about this.
Where we're trying to head.
In terms of we can just say in terms of paying down debt.
Okay.
Depending on the amount that you have, it's going to take an amount of time to get it done. You might have influxes of money where you're able to maybe cut that time down.
Right.
But regardless, it's going to take, just say in our situations, a year, a couple years of really focused intent with the money to get it down.
Yeah. And
right?
Consistency.
Right. So
focus,
that's
consistent.
That's what it is, having a plan and then sticking to it. But I mean, the whole idea that recognizing that don't get discouraged. I mean, we even talked about how you're going to have random, money things pop up, whether it be car troubles, medical bills, whatever. Right. Those things are going to happen
constantly
and kind of derail you from the timeline. But that's where the patience comes in, because that we talk about crooked paths. It's the whole point. The whole point is that you're not going straight. If you went straight, you'd be able to really
you probably wouldn't need that much patience.
That's what I'm saying. You could really estimate the time. It's I know if I do this, and this, I'll be there. But it's not that way. There's so many different ways you go.
And so many different things that come at you that you have to overcome
and sometimes
move past or
when we don't know
from.
where we're going, we might just be walking in a circle over here. You're still moving.
Right. And that's why we've talked about it before. The mindset and the vision are so important, because you got to know where you're trying to go so that you can work your way there.
Definitely.
And then I like what you said, that the patience is what keeps you down that path. Like when you were using the example of debt, man, I had to just spend more money on this, but I got to still stay consistent with it. I got to stay patient. Hey, it just takes time. It just takes time. You're going to get there. It's just going to take time to get there.
Well, and even then that talks about the preparation. You also try to prepare for these types of things, even though it might be, say you've only prepared for, $500 worth of costs that just randomly occur. Say it's $750, but at least you've prepared enough where it's not oh no, where am I going to get that whole $750? I've got some. So you even have a plan put in place for when life does what it does.
And I even think
in terms of debt and money and stuff.
Yeah, but all right, let's say you're building a habit. I want to wake up at 5 a.m. every single day for this next month to build this habit. But I want to do that long term. Let's say I want to do that. I keep getting up. I've made it a week. I'm really, really tired, but I choose to stay up late on the 8th day. But so when I wake up, or on that 8th night, so when I wake up on that 9th day or whatever, when that alarm goes off, I had to make a choice there. But that's when the consistency and that, you almost you prepare for it in that way. The consistency helps you be prepared.
You need stamina
because you continue to put it in.
You need stamina for change.
I like that.
And so you have to build up that stamina. And it comes when you make tough choices, like you said, when you're tired.
Yeah, but like, all right, so think about it. If you just did a little, like 5-minute workout, 10-minute workout every single day, the same thing over and over and over again, consistently doing that in and day out, eventually you will see progress. It might be 6 months down the road, whatever, but you'll see something different just by being consistent. I think I've said it before, but I love the example of like what I took this geology class in college at USC my senior year. Yeah. And like, I didn't do very much work in the lab, so I got a bad grade, but in general, the class was very interesting. Like I really enjoyed learning just about rocks and how things worked or like how they were shaped and formed and all that type of stuff. Anyways, the whole point in saying that is, so like if this big boulder has a consistent drop of water on it for like thousands, millions of years, all these things, that water, the consistent effort of that water creates a hole in something that was completely solid before. Right. Like that, there are a bunch of metaphors for patience and consistency and all these types of things.
Lots of ways to illustrate the point for sure.
But whatever you're trying to do in your life, what did Kobe tell the parents of his AAU squad?
Oh, that's just about like, hey, if they consistently practice,
right? It's
just math. That they'll be better because it's like they're spending the time being
so
better.
It's just math with whatever you're trying to build. If you're getting up early or staying up later and doing the things that other people aren't necessarily doing, and that's not to say that you're doing this because other people aren't, but whatever you got to give for motivation, like I'm not going to say that.
Well, I mean, in a lot of ways, like you're with people, but hey, it's a competition. I mean, it's a
survival of the fittest type thing.
Kind of. I mean, maybe not to the point of like life or death.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, but
you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you're competing with people. I mean, it's sports. They have competition. You just got to know, like, that's a whole different type.
That is because we could talk about value.
Yeah, I mean, that's all kinds of stuff. But like, yeah, I mean, if you're not being consistent, you'll find. Well, okay, it's funny. We're learning how to play golf.
Yeah.
Or like we're playing.
I'm playing. Yeah.
Maybe not spending the amount of time we should on like knowing the problems so that we can get better.
Not
but
yet.
So
we're getting
they're like highs and lows. Like we can have days where we're hitting like really good and we score a better score, which is still triple digits.
Oh yeah. But hey, that's progress.
But whatever. And then there's other days where it's like, wow, it's so bad. I'm not even counting that scorecard.
Yeah, it's just about getting through it.
So then, you know, I've learned that if I use correct technique, I'll likely have a more consistent golf game. So it's not these extreme highs and these extreme lows. So like when you break away from like, so that would just be a plan, like consistently learning technique, spending time doing the technique, you're going to get better. But
yeah, if you
just going out there and just getting reps,
again.
like I'm leaving it up to potentially like having these highs and these lows. So, I mean, when it comes to consistency, that's what allows you to keep pushing through. Like say you're trying to
keep maintain and sustain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But say you go 2 days without waking up. If you don't have that,
you start to derail real quick.
You're going back to square one.
Like something for me, right? I want to write a little bit of something every day, even if it's just like a letter to myself type thing. Not like I'm going to sit down and say, Dear Jordan or whatever.
Dear Jordan.
But I want to do that. So like I'll be consistent for a little bit, let's say a week, maybe a week and a half, and then I'll stop. And then it's like 2 weeks later, I pick back up. And it's almost every time when I write in those moments, it's almost like you constantly find yourself here. You know what you want to do, but sometimes you lose sight of that. And when you lose sight of that, you stop being consistent. It's almost, I've got to continue to encourage myself with that mantra. It just takes time. It just takes time. Hey, I'm tired today, but I'm still going to do this workout. Hey, I'm not like I'm sitting here working out. That's not
right. No, you're just using that as an example. But I mean, I think for me, I mean, it's the same thing, but I think in a lot of times our situations, we don't necessarily know where we're going. So like a lot of the work might, like when we get burnt out, it's because we don't have that, hey, this is where I'm headed. That
I don't have a carrot I'm
like,
chasing.
This is where I'm going. Exactly.
Right.
So that's another thing too. You kind of got to define it for yourself, and then that's got to be there. You know, I got 4 goals written down in my car just to remind myself what they are. Am I moving towards them all the time? No, not necessarily. But if I at least do one thing that's moving towards those things, those 4 things each day, eventually it's just math. You know, like I'm going to get there.
That's right. So, but honestly, it's being committed to being consistent.
Well, and we talked a little bit about desire, but yeah, commitment is everything. And it's what you're going to challenge yourself and push yourself to do. Your only cap is what you have. Yes, there's physical caps where like, okay, my physical body can't run past this many, you know. But like, you know what I'm saying? It's just.
Yeah, no, I absolutely, I do. You're going to get in your own way. Mm-hmm. More times than at least I have gotten in my own way more than anybody else, and that definitely comes from a place of privilege and like things that you can't help. Every generation is born into a world that they didn't create. Mm-hmm. Like I can't correct. I can change me, and we've talked about
that's right. Yeah,
that before, just in our lives. Just
yeah,
any grand change that we want to see, it has to be done on my level first, and but. I find it so hard to be consistent in changing myself that now I'm realizing even more that I've got to be more quiet about the stuff that's out there that I want to change because, hey, it's hard to be consistent in that change too.
Yeah, it's almost like people are like, no shit. Like, yeah, I want to change that.
Right.
But what is it going to take to get there? And you look at you over here not really changing anything.
What am I
yourself.
Capable of doing? What am I able to do?
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
In order to take ownership of your life, you have to take that time, and we said it before, to sit with yourself, right? And that almost requires a certain level of patience, even to just sit in a space and ask yourself tough questions or, determine what it is that you want to do. And I think part of that for us is like, we're scared that if we say this is what we want to do, that it's going to like lock us into that. And we're very non-committal to a certain degree of like future plans. I know what I want. And yet I'm still not always doing what I want.
Sure, yeah.
And that disconnect causes me to be less consistent, causes me to be impatient.
Ultimately, like I can't complain.
No.
Why things aren't getting done because I'm not necessarily keeping my house the way it needs to be kept. You know
what am I doing? What am I doing to see the change? What change am I being?
And that's where it's like where you get focus and everything. It all ties together. But like if you don't have the right mindset, if you don't have the right focus, and if you don't have just like the desire to take ownership of your life and move forward, then patience is going to be a really hard thing to come by. Like you're going to have to find like for me, I had to find real practical things in my life, like especially when I was driving. I remember I had someone tell me like when I was like early 20s that I need to get less aggressive when there were two areas. One was driving and two was online FIFA games.
You're aggressive on online FIFA games?
I got upset when I would people were better than me. Let's just say that. So I lost and I got frustrated a lot. But
you had people tell you.
I had one person specifically tell me those two areas I needed to be better at. And I shrugged that off back then. That was like, okay. Like it was just like, don't tell me what to do. But then I realized obviously those were two areas I need to be better in. And over time, I feel like I feel like I've always been fairly patient, but I got better about it. And then, obviously my experience with Christian and Cole and just working with kids with autism and recognizing the amount of patience
gave you a lot of opportunities to work on it.
Yeah, practice patience. And to see the people in their lives and how much patience they just had. Because you have to. It's like someone's trying to
Jay's been with them for 10 years?
It's crazy. So like I have mad respect for that. And I only worked a couple years in the sector. I didn't even like. There are lifers in there who've got, ample amounts of patience. But that was a practical. Every day I went to work and I was like, hey, regardless of the day that they're having, I'm going to try to be consistent. And I failed multiple times, man. And I'm thankful for their forgiveness. Christian and Cole are awesome. And I got to watch them grow. But they also got to challenge me to grow. And that's what's cool. And like, so now, even in my most patience, I can recognize opportunities to be patient now because of my time with them.
Okay.
So, post office, driving in a car, different like lines at a store, whatever it is, I can find like bank, insert impatient opportunity here. I'm like, all right, cool, be patient. It's cool, all's good. I'll hear people around me chirping. And the part I'm having to recognize now with myself is like, hey, don't be upset with them or correct them, but don't be impatient with their impatience.
I like that.
So like, stay patient regardless. Right. Like if you have an opportunity to speak
and
truth,
don't judge on them for
You have no idea
impatient.
Where they are on that patience journey. I hope that when I'm their age or when I get to another situation, I just continue to be patient. I don't ever want to be the person who's not.
And I think it ties back into like the being present in the moment, because when you're present in the moment, you recognize those opportunities like, hey, I can be patient here. I can respond in a different way.
You don't allow your emotions to take full control. You recognize that they are there, but if you are angry, you don't allow it to now say you're angry about something at home, but
or
you're
upset or sad or whatever.
Right.
Same thing.
You're not going to be that way in public because it's just a different thing. I'm not going to impose that on someone else. I can turn it into my impatience, and now I'm going to honk at the person in front of me and angrily wave my hand like they did something wrong when ultimately they're not the problem.
And I've noticed that too in my life because I've come to a point now where I pretty much know what I want to try to do each day. Just little things here and there to keep building on to, moving me towards where I want to go in life, right. Which is still kind of undefined, sure. If I'm being honest, because I have no idea. But when I'm not consistent, when I have the days and the multiple days in a row where I don't do the things that I know I want to do, very quickly I unravel and fall back into those old habits and old pathways of being impatient or being angry or falling into I'm better than them or like this entire
where you start to like raise the platform.
Yeah, like as if I've got it figured out. And because and I've said it before, like I would be the loudest about other people's hypocrisy when it was loudest in my life. Well, like I easily see how quickly I slip back into those comfortable past habits. And so I have to be really, really be intentional. Like even today was the first time I wrote since June 19th. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So like,
hey man, I've gone into my journal and I've seen like, wow, it's been 30 days. And I remember writing one time, I was about to get upset with myself. And then the first thing I wrote was, where's the grace? Like, hey man, like find that forgiveness for yourself because like, don't be mad at past you. Past you's already done what past you did.
What is present you want to do to make future you
different? That's it.
That's the key. And that's what we're trying to do each day. And it's a lifelong process. And it's taken us to this point to even get to the ability to maybe even verbalize it in this sense.
Sure.
Like we've maybe bits and pieces here, just understanding.
Comfortable with holding ourselves accountable amongst each other and the people closest to us. That's how we feel, I guess.
Well, and I think trying to be more authentic gives you that opportunity to, do that. And
I've gotten really good at like apologizing for real. Like, hey, I hope you forgive me. Like I'm going to be different in this situation. That's what I've really tried to be better at. Because if I'm saying sorry for something, I feel like I've done something wrong. So now it's about assessing, like, is that like, where is this pattern coming from?
Yeah.
And so I've looked at key people recently in my life and asked for their forgiveness in the way that I treated them in a situation, and saying that I've learned a lot from that. And I think that's all we can do. That's all we can do is be better after we like. And I mean, it's different. You and I, the grudges that we might have with each other bounce like really quick. They can be there for a second and they can be gone. The forgiveness is like just never ending. It's just constantly there.
It's very ample, yeah.
Right. But then you have other relationships with people where it might not be there. And, it's hard. I think it's hard nowadays for me personally to stay consistent with keeping up with everybody. Just because there's so many avenues that you can, it becomes almost overwhelming to even like try to do. Like you get inundated with everybody's stuff. And it doesn't mean I don't care. I do.
Yeah, but it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to like keep that up, or at least keep the same energy and check in.
Well, and that's what
because we're still navigating. We will always still be navigating what we're trying to do, or how we're whatever what life's bringing our way.
Well, and we've had to find patience in. Like with ourselves as we're trying to discover, like, why haven't you discovered this yet?
Yeah.
Like, why
aren't you doing that when you know you need to do that?
And then we talk about grace and forgiveness and patience is key, but like, it's like all a scale of how much work are you actually putting in versus grace/excuses, like,
what's your posture like?
Right.
How are you approaching this? Well, I think you said it before, something along the lines of, are you doing this to grow? And that's a great motive question to ask yourself. What's my motive behind this? If I'm trying to grow, then I know right now in this moment I've got to be consistent with that. Mm-hmm. And I know I may get discouraged later when I'm dealing with this real world problem that life just brought at me, or this real world problem that my friend is dealing with that I want to be, in those moments, I'll be able to find the gratitude for what I'm trying to do, find the patience, find the grace, not only for myself, but for others, and to know that, hey, I'm staying active in these moments. And I think that's the key. You have to be your biggest advocate. We said that before. We'll say it again. You have to be your biggest advocate in this life. You have to be your biggest fan, because at the end of the day, my only enemy is me. Like you will get in your way before you face any other problem that comes your way.
Right.
And the way that we combat our hypocrisy is by being consistent in the habits, being consistent in the mindset, being consistent in the gratitude, and the truths, I guess, that we have come to believe about our own existence.
Well, I think for me, because a lot of this can seem overwhelming. It's like, damn, I got to do all of that just to get to this point. And for me, I can easily get overwhelmed in the details of all that kind of stuff and the change. But I think I just inundated myself. I've drowned myself in like finding gratitude.
Like even if you're reading the same book just because it inspires you, just read that. Read that thing.
Read it.
You know?
I mean, I've read The Alchemist like 4 times now.
That's right.
I mean, I'm gonna probably
every time you
start
finish it, you
soon.
just start it over.
I know, man, because like honestly, like and if you're feeling that way, and then that kind of helps you truly know what you're. I mean, whatever things that bring you life. For me, I mean, we talked about it, coaching. I mean, I legit get to start off my day, the majority of the days a week, with a team around a sport that I love. I mean, that baseline gratitude,
baseline gratitude,
I am thankful, and if you can be there,
baseline breath,
I can find, I can find success in building patience, and I can find success in building consistency. And then, I mean, for me particularly, it's all about youth. I love young people. Young people are awesome and amazing and have incredible abilities.
And that's where change happens.
Well, right. And so if that's where change is going to happen,
generational change,
I want to be around them. That's who I want to be around. And because they help hold me accountable too. Because if you hurt one of them, because they see you higher up, like the kids, man. Kids see you on an elevated plane until you prove them wrong. And they have all the belief in the world. Yeah. Kids are the best. They have some realistic stuff that they've gone in through life and like, all right, hey, I've learned a few things. You're selling some fool's gold over there.
But you're actively trying to put yourself in position to keep your cup full.
Keep my cup full, and then that helps
to have opportunities, but even to have the opportunities to be consistent. Now you've put yourself around young people. You've put yourself in a leadership position around young people, and now these things that you know in your gut you have to do, and that you've communicated to other people around you, you get the opportunity to be that.
That's right.
To do that, to have that action. And then ultimately, that's your story. That's going to be how you write your story, how you live your life, how you do your life, whatever the actions are that you put in there.
Well, I think there's a quote that says, how you live your days is how you live your life.
Yeah.
Like it's not like we've talked about it. There's no arrived moment or like when I get here, I'll be there. No, it's an everyday thing. And I mean, we always look for future days for change.
Yeah, like, I'll do that
I
one
like
day.
to question myself, why not today? Why isn't one day today?
Because if it's not today,
it never exists.
It may not be tomorrow.
Exactly. So, it's just been, especially with this whole just podcast in general and recording and stuff, this has been fun and freeing to hear yourself just talk about these things. It's almost encouraged us.
It's almost therapeutic for me to even get...
Yeah, we're seeing exactly like,
man,
I'm really not doing what I want to do, but I'm operating with that self.
But there has been growth.
Exactly.
And I see the growth, and I remind myself of the pillars.
Exactly. And
maybe tomorrow I'll be better than I was today.
And I'll try to be better for the rest of whatever part of the day that I have today. And that builds.
Be more authentic.
Yeah.
And it's about that mindset. It's about keeping your focus in the right spot, determining for yourself what it is that you want, finding out how you get there, being consistent in the action, doing the work, giving yourself grace, forgiving yourself when you don't do the things that you need to do.
Right.
And you stay in the trenches, you roll up your sleeves, you stay active, you stay consistent, you stay patient. It just takes time. It just takes time.
I mean, life is what you make it. And Jay Gibbons says, so I made it into a playlist. Just that whole idea of like, put in the effort around things that you want to do in this life. There will be challenges. We know this.
Choose joy.
Choose joy.
Choose happiness.
Choose joy. Choose happiness, man. You have to.
Find it where you are, because if you don't find it where you are,
you'll never find it where you're going.
It'll always have conditions.
That's right.
And you can't have conditions on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to live an authentic life, if you're trying to live in alignment with your convictions, determine for yourself whatever that is. Mm-hmm. But if we're going to be authentic as individuals, we've got to love God. We've got to love people. Mm-hmm. We've got to be willing to build the bridge in our own lives. We have to be willing to address the hypocrisies that were foundational and that we're trying to no longer make a foundation for us, and be the change we want to see. And whatever grander change we've ever talked about, we need to do it in our own lives. Mm-hmm. And we have to be consistent with it. We have to have the gratitude as that fuel. But it's all about the work. You have to put in the work. It's about the action. Control what you can control. Know that it's not going to be a straight line. It's never a straight line.
It's always crooked.
It's always crooked.